Hello, friends. It's Nikki, and welcome back to my messy bookshelf. Today, we're going to be talking about rereading. And I was recently watching a video from Paul at the Accidental Bookseller where he addressed this topic and he shared some books that he wants to reread and shared some reasons why he wanted to reread books. And he did call for booktubers to respond to this topic if they are so inclined. And um, I had been wanting to talk about this topic for quite some time, and so I was very happy that he did mention me, but he did leave an open call to other booktubers or viewers who want to get in on this topic. Now, before I came on to BookTube, I had no idea that rereading was such a weird thing to do. Um, I guess I won't say weird, but that it was not as common as I thought it was. I myself am a chronic rereader. And since I've been here on the platform, and not that there's anything wrong with not wanting to reread books. I am not saying that. I just had no idea that I was doing something that not many people were doing. And I tried to look online and I was researching why people reread. And, you get kind of the same answers in every article. Some are more academic and some are more psychological reasons. And so I thought I would share some of those. I thought I would share some of my most reread books and some of the books I am most excited to reread that I have not reread yet, or that I have only reread once. And so, yeah, I thought I would share some of the things that I found. I read quite a few articles trying to figure out what it is about rereading that has some people in love with it and some people just dead set against it. So, um, academically, many of the reasons that academics reread are pretty obvious, right? Because you can pick up themes that you didn't pick up the first time, plot details, small details that you totally overlooked the first time that you read them. And I mean, that's pretty self evident, right? But other things were learning how to read better. Even if you read very well, rereading the same book again can apparently help you to read even better. It can improve your vocabulary. And at first, I was a little bit skeptical when I read a lot of these things. And then I realized, I mean, these are the same reasons that we are told to read to children and read the same books over and over to children. And it sort of started making sense to me. So, those are some of the academic reasons. Vocabulary building, and just gaining a deeper meaning from the text itself. And they all make sense to me. Now, some other reasons that I saw listed in different articles were things like comfort and safety for people who experience anxiety or trauma or just like that warm hug of something. The same way someone would watch a comfort show or rewatch the same movie several times, things like that. So, what were some of the other reasons? Safety, and of course, visiting old friends, because the same way many people like to revisit the same movies and the characters are like their friends, for us as readers, many of us like to revisit old friends as well. And so I thought some of these made sense for me personally, but not all of them. So I thought I would share why I am such a chronic rereader as well. So for me, there's no one thing that will cause me to pick up a book again and again, but there are several reasons, and I think some of them would be some of these more academic reasons, and some would be these more psychological and feeling reasons. And so I'll share my reasons for why I think that I tend to be a chronic rereader. Sometimes it's just as simple as the story was so darn good that I can't get enough of it and I want more of it. And I will share an example of that when I share my most reread books. Sometimes it is the feeling of joy that I felt when I read the book. Sometimes it's the academic reason. I do want to find details I missed the first time. This is especially common when I reread murder mysteries, especially Agatha Christie. It's very fun to go back, for me personally, and see details that I completely missed the first time that could have helped me solve whodunit. Sometimes it's that feeling of nostalgia, and this is probably one of the most common reasons that I reread. Um, some books transport me back to a different time and a different place and a more innocent time, and it is like a warm hug when you reread books like that. Um, and then yeah, the comfort. And another reason I haven't seen mentioned in any of the articles that I read, and that is kind of something that pertains to me, will I feel the same way about the book? I have a couple of rereads on my 50 before 50 list. They are typically books that I either struggled with the first time, or that I just did not like the first time, or that I know that I missed something from. And so I did put a few on my 50 before 50. So the ones that I am sharing that I want to reread are not ones that I put on that list, because these are ones I will reread without needing to be prompted by a challenge. Um, but yeah, I thought I would share some of my most reread books. I could not narrow it down. I think I have 7 actual books here, or 8. Um, but there's more. I'll just get into the books. So one of the books that I have reread the most, and I've mentioned on my channel before, is The Devil on Horseback by Victoria Holt. This is one of those books that is a comfort and a safety and a nostalgic read for me, because it takes me back to being a teenager where all I had to worry about was going to school and my little fast food job, and I was home with my family, and yeah, my mom enjoyed these books, and they also remind me of her as well. So, this one, I have read all of the Victoria Holt books more than once, but this one is the one that I have read the most. Probably more than 15 or 20 times. More times than I can count on my hands. Let's just say that. So, there's that one. Another one that I have reread quite a few times, not as many as the previous one, but Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. I have read this one probably 4 or 5 times, at least, that I can recall. And I think this is just one where I can't get enough of the story. It was just so darn good that I wanted to reread it. No other reason than that. The next one, similar. I just can't get enough of this story. Dracula. This is one I've probably read maybe 10 times. So, yeah. Dracula. I do love me some Dracula. Um, all of the above. Comfort. I was so joyful and spooked when I read it the first time, so it does give me a feeling of nostalgia as well. So, Dracula. Who would have thought? This one is probably another one that I have reread the most, and it's been mentioned quite a few times on my channel. And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. I first read this as a young teenager, like a middle school teenager, for a summer reading list thing. And it takes me back to summer vacation, a thunderstorm, my mom making my favorite meal, experiencing my first closed room murder mystery by the queen herself. Yeah, this one gives me all the feels, and I could not even tell you how many times I have reread this book. When it comes to Agatha Christie, she is probably my most reread author besides Victoria Holt because she has so many books. Her Hercule Poirot books, I have read all of them more than once. Her Miss Marple books, I have read all of them more than once. Um, so this one and Murder on the Orient Express are probably ones that I have read, again, more times than I can count. The next one, it's another one that I just love, and this was one that I used to try to reread every single year. Um, didn't exactly work out that way, but The Fellowship of the Ring. I have reread this a number of times. I'll just stop saying the number unless I actually know how many times it was. Um, yeah, I love this book. I love this trilogy, and I have reread the entire trilogy and The Hobbit, but The Fellowship is the one that I have reread the most. It nostalgia, joy, comfort, safety. Um, this is another one where, especially with the amount of world building that Tolkien does, there is so much detail that I pick up on every single time I read this book because there's names of people and places and historical figures that I don't remember every time I read it. So, Fellowship of the Ring. The next one is a more modern book, and this one is Why Mummy Drinks by Jill Sims. And this one is one that I would love if just one person watching my channel read. The audio of this is phenomenal, and it is one of the funniest series I have ever listened to. And it is just about this woman, Ellen, living her everyday life, and she's talking to us as if we're her diary, and she just is going through it. So these gave me so much comfort during a time where my mental health was suffering, especially towards the latter part of my career on active duty. It was very toxic, and it was very bad for the last couple of years, and this helped me to get through. I listened to this several times. I listened to the entire series a few times, but um, yeah, it made me laugh and cheered me up when I wanted to cry. So this is one I will always have a soft spot for, and I always enjoy listening to this one. All right, we're nearing the end of my stack here. And then we move on to Jane Austen. All of her novels, but especially Pride and Prejudice, have been reread by me more than once. I think another reason I probably should have shared for my personal reasons for rereading is probably because I am so stubborn. I like what I like, and I used to be very hesitant to step outside my comfort zone, and I would say, I don't want to try that. I don't know if I'll like it. I'll just reread this book. So, yeah, Pride and Prejudice and the other full-length novels. And I love them. And I'm about to reread Pride and Prejudice again for the month of July. And then the last one that I will mention, because there are more, is The Mists of Avalon by Marion Zimmer Bradley. And yeah, I really enjoyed these books when I was a teenager. I know the author, I have since learned that the author has done some very nasty and controversial things. But as a teenager, this book and a couple of the other ones after were books that I returned to again and again. And they were at the library, so I could easily access them. So maybe I rambled a bit here, but I just wanted to share some of the books that I have reread the most and why I think that I reread them. And now moving on, I'm just going to share a couple, maybe a handful of books that I am the most excited to reread that are not on my 50 before 50 list. And the first one we have is The Pickwick Papers by Charles Dickens, a book that had me cracking up. This is another book that had me cracking up while listening to it on my way to work because I was struggling those last 2 years. I could not wait to get out. It was so toxic. And this is one of the books that helped me get through that difficult time. And I cannot wait to reread it. And then we have Project Hail Mary. And I technically did reread it. I reread it right after the first time I read it. And yeah, this is probably going to be one that I reread many times over my lifetime. Brought me a lot of joy. And yeah, I couldn't say enough good things about this book. The next one I have is Don Quixote by Miguel de Cervantes. And this one is another one. Made me laugh. I enjoyed the story. Brought me a lot of joy during that time in my life. It's funny. A lot of these funny books are from that time in my life. And so I think they will always be comfort reads for me. But yeah, I have not reread Don Quixote, and I would like to read it in Spanish at some point in my life. But we will see. I am very, very eager and happy to get back to this one at some point in the near future, hopefully. The next one is The War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells. I absolutely just loved this book when I read it the first time. I don't know why I haven't reread it because this is one where I just couldn't get enough of it. And yeah, this is probably one of my top 10 books and I still haven't reread it. So yeah, War of the Worlds. And then finally, we have a more modern book, Shogun. Read this last year, and I absolutely adored this book. The adventure, the just drama, it was just epic. It was epic. So I guess this one is another one that I just couldn't get enough of it. And it did take my mind off of, it transported me somewhere else during that difficult time of my life. So Shogun. I wish I could find more books like this. This one and part two, I did read them back to back. Fantastic. And I want to reread them someday. But yeah, I am sorry if I rambled for too long, but I thought it was an important topic because not a lot of people talk about rereading, and some of us really like to reread. And I would love to hear from you all if you do reread books, or if you don't, and if you don't, why not? Yeah, please share that with me because I am curious. But thank you so much if you made it to the end of this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.